o'clock, so let's begin. We start with the news that has monopolized the attention these last days. We're talking about the education in the United Kingdom. British education has a strong reputation worldwide, with parents choosing British schools for the broad, balanced curriculum and teaching that equips pupils with the skills and qualifications to enter or re-enter the UK education system at school, college, or university level. Do you want to know more about this interesting style of education? Let's go with Melissa Klein, an expert in the topic, and at the same time, member of the team. She lived in the UK for 5 years, and she's excited to tell us everything about that interesting kind of education she knew during that time.
Good morning, and thanks, Rodrigo. Today we're looking at the British education system, and I'm going to show you how this country learns. The education system in the UK is divided into 4 main parts: primary education, secondary education, further education, and higher education. Children in the UK have to legally attend primary and secondary education, which runs from about 5 years old until the student is 16 years old. The first thing to know is that education is compulsory from the ages of 5 to 16. That means that everybody in the country has to go to school. In 1988, the national curriculum was introduced. The national curriculum is a framework for learning. It was brought in to standardize learning across the country so that all students were learning the same things. In England, education is compulsory, but sending your child to school is not. This means that by law you have the right to teach your child at home, including if your child has special educational needs. Home education is increasingly popular in the UK. It is known as homeschooling in the United States. It means that parents take responsibility for their children's education rather than delegating it to a school. Awesome, right? What do you think about this, Rodrigo?
Me? I think this is one of the most interesting facts about the UK education. I'm sure many Mexicans would like to have this kind of educative option in their country because it can help by infinity ways, but there could also be many troubles with this, starting with the fact that most of the Mexican schools have to be paid, not like in the UK, as Melissa told us.
Excellent, Rodrigo. That's absolutely right. Thanks. Now, continuing with this, let me tell you that in Britain we have 2 main types of schools. We have state schools and private or independent schools. A state school is a school that's free, so it's open to everybody. It's government funded and you don't have to pay, so it's for anybody to attend. The other type of school are the private schools. Private schools, also known as independent schools, charge fees to attend instead of being funded by the government. Parents may choose to send their children to independent schools if they feel that their local state-funded schools are not sufficient for the learning that they want for their children. Similarly, independent schools are more likely to have smaller classes, a more individualistic style of learning, and better quality equipment. In addition to private schools or independent schools, we also have public schools. These are a group of schools that are the most expensive, the most elite, if you will. So it sounds that's like if they should be free, right? public school, but in fact, it is the opposite. This is because the schools in the UK, which are based on a fee-paying system, are now often referred to as an independent schools, as historically schools such as Eton College began as a state-funded institution, but are now only accessible at a cost. In this way, they are sometimes categorized as public, though this is not the case. So, when we are 5 years old, we go to primary school. Primary school is the first school you'll go to. It's from 5 to 11 years old. Children leave primary school at the age of 11, moving on to secondary school. Now, when you get to 11, that's when you go to secondary school. Secondary school is from 11 to 16, or sometimes 18 as well. In America, they call that a high school, but here, secondary school. After this 2-year period, students take the General Certificate of Secondary Education, being state examinations. After this examination, students may choose to either leave school or continue with their education. College. This can get a bit confusing because I know in America colleges are what we call universities, but our word college has a few other meanings. In this case, the college is from the 16 to 18 years old. At the age of 16, following 2 years of study, students may take advanced level examinations required for university entrance in the UK. Over these 2 years following secondary school education, students specialize in 3 or 4 subjects that are usually relevant to the degree subject they wish to follow at university. Now, a question for you, Rodrigo. Which methods do you think are usually used in Mexico or in the United States, for example?
Well, we know that usually most of the universities often assess students' performance through a large combination of methods throughout the semester, such as presentation, quizzes, participation, discussion, assignments, etc. I mean, their grade is based on a variety of methods, not just one.
Excellent, Rodrigo. The UK is more heavily lecture and exam-based, though in many cases they do have a mixture of assignments, discussions, and presentations. The big exam is a much larger and significant portion of the grade. In some cases, the entire grade is based on the final. Excellent, Rodrigo. The UK is more heavily lecture and exam-based, though in many cases they do have a mixture of assignments, discussions, and presentations. The big final exam is a much larger and significant portion of the grade. In some cases, the entire grade is based on the final. Finally, let's talk about the last level, the university. Once a student has been through all the misadventures and hardship of compulsory education, it is time to decide his or her own fate. Choosing a university or college is an important decision, so examine all the options. And that was all. Thank you, Rodrigo, for making myself known through the puppets news. And I hope you guys to have understood the difference between the United Kingdom and our country's education, and realize by yourself the reason why we have these inconsistencies in our educative system and certain collapses, many of whom have ever left us without a successful title, in the case we were recent graduates. Thanks, Rodrigo.
You're welcome, Melissa. Now we go to a commercial break and return.